Okay, I wanted to do one last video about this lens, which I've already made a couple videos on. A lot of you have emailed me a couple questions that I didn't answer, and I thought I'd covered everything about this lens, but you know, they're certainly valid questions. I mean, it is a rather expensive lens, I mean, compared to like 50mm pancake. But it is a true dream to actually own this lens. Now, question number one that I received several statements on is that every lens has a downside. Doesn't matter how good the lens is. Is there any downside to this lens? And, you know, the answer to that is no. Actually, the one thing that I don't like is that this lens, I have it currently sitting on a Nikon D750 here, as you can see, is that it comes with this obnoxiously fat lens cap, which is ridiculous. It doesn't come off that easy, but it kind of does, because it's really easy to bump it, because it's so obnoxiously large. This isn't a real complaint. But you can buy like a Leica lens cap for it. Now it's 39mm, but you can see the difference between the thickness. I mean, if you're going to get a really thin pancake lens like this, don't make a lens cap for it that's about half as thick as the lens. This is a bit stupid, so that's not really a complaint, but you know, since I had to come up with a complaint from you all. By the way, you could buy these for like $2, $2 or $3. I just checked on eBay. There's a bunch of them. It's 39mm. What kind of defines this lens? I mean, we're talking about art lens, of course. The crazy ass cult following that Sigma has with its quote-unquote art lens. If there was ever a real art lens before Sigma bastardized the use of the term as a marketing gimmick, that's all it is. It's not a special lens at all, and it has too many glass elements in it. Not this one. I'm talking about the Sigmas. They're also cyan shifted. You don't have to take my word on that. You can go on to Flickr or any other page. But I mean, I've used them. I mean, I'm not talking about lenses that I haven't used. I mean, I have used them. They got too many elements in them. One thing that adds to binocular disparity and renditional depth in so far as how an image is rendered, not only is glass and ED glass, but the actual amount of travel that exists between the elements, and there's no specific formula for that. But this is a short little pancake lens. It's incredibly dense. If this should be called anything, it should be called Lux. Lux is Latin for light, and of course it's also short for luxury. What kind of separates this lens out, of course Nikon never, at no point in time, ever made anything this nice, is, by the way, this is the screw-in lens hood for it. This removes right here, okay? Underneath that is a 52mm ring. But it's best just to keep this on here all the time. Since it's so short, it does act as a lens hood for vignetting, but since it's so short, if you actually have your hands on your lens and you get distracted, and instead of stabbing the front of the element with your finger, it'll actually keep your fingers away from the front element. I was trying to get to a point. On this particular lens, it's such a dream to use. I'm going to post a couple test shots here too with this lens at its closest focus distance. I'm going to post it on the Flickr page. I'm going to show you the upload link down below, and then I'm going to screw on the macro, or quote unquote, not a true macro, but the macro attachment which screws onto the actual lens cap for this that lets you get in a lot closer. So I'll let you see the closest focus distance, and also it'll be a test shot with this lens, and I won't alter it at all. I won't change the color, saturation, or anything like that. And then I'll put this on. I'll show you how much closer you're able to get with it. By the way, this is an extremely fine attachment for macro use on this VOIGTLANDER 40mm. It is unlike the Chinese. Every little screw-in macro lens is cheap Chinese junk, and this is not that. I don't want you to think that VOIGTLANDER, like Nikon, outsources its lens hoods to Chinese manufacturers, and you know, who cares? It's a cheap piece of plastic crap. But VOIGTLANDER does not outsource these. They are precision. It is a precision macro front element for this lens. 6 elements in 5 groups. Front element is aspherical. What's so great about this thing, and why I don't think I really can say that, you know, unless you're crazy anybody that purchases this lens, you're going to be far, far more than happy with the lens. It kind of redefines, bringing a new class of art and engagement, manual engagement to the use of any Nikon DSLR. I think I said before, but apparently I didn't. This is the only lens that is not only 100% perfect for DX camera use, but it's an FX lens. It's a perfect lens for full frame or DX, but specifically so since it has CPU contacts on the lens. You can use it on a D3000, D5000 series. Now, one of the things that defines perfect use of like older AI and AIS lenses is not only the throw that a lens has, which is between its minimum focusing distance and infinity, but also the amount of resistance and how easy it is, or what a joy it is to actually use as a manual focus lens. And this gives new definition to that. Even some of Nikon's finest, smoothest and silkiest manual focus lenses, which are exactly as they were made back in the day, don't match up to this. A couple of them do on the manual focus smoothness, but really 98% of them do not match this. So it's an exquisite, wonderful joy to use this lens, and it kind of revitalizes your joy and use of engagement. You kind of it's an indescribable, ineffable. When you've used so many lenses and you kind of become jaded in the use, and you automatically think you can turn your camera, your DSLR on, and everything's autofocused. You need to spend a couple seconds of engagement and thinking about composition and focus, and not let your camera do everything for you. Obviously, get out of program mode, which, by the way, this is the one lens like it that exists. Since this is like an older, Nikon only made a few of these. It's a pre-D lens. It's a AIP. It's an intermediate between a manual focus and AASP. Intermediate between a manual focus lens and the first D autofocus series. Since it has CPU contacts, it's actually communicating with the camera. So not only can you use it with D3000, D5000 series, but you can also use it in every mode on every current Nikon DSLR: program, shutter priority, aperture priority, and manual mode. So if you want to throw it in a program mode and throw it in continuous high, obviously, even though you're going to have to manually focus it, of course, that's possible, and that's not possible on AIS lenses. So, but it is a dream to use. So it is a true art lens. Like I said, check the links below. I'll throw in a couple test shots of the closest focus without the macro attachment, and one with. I think that was it. Said a few, about a dozen of you say that you've ordered the lens, but there have been more than a few emails that were hesitant about buying this lens, since we're talking $450, and used typically $310, $320, somewhere around there, used. This is an f2 lens, but it is exquisite, and I can honestly say that I find it an impossibility, unless you've got a screw loose, that you'd be anything less than extremely happy with this, because it's a lens built to last. But more importantly than that, there is a gossamer, there is an ineffable subjectivity to the subjective use of this lens on your Nikon DSLR that for all but basically none, people find it a true enjoyment and kind of like a rediscovery of original intent photography. So you have here everything in your Nikon Pro DSLR. I got a D750, whatever the hell it is you're shooting, doesn't matter, but it will let you re-engage in what you should be engaged in, where everything is automatic now. You turn it on, throw your camera in puss mode, and let your camera autofocus everything and matrix meter everything. You can do that, except for the autofocus, obviously so, but this really brings you back to where you need to be. So not only does this lens let you re-engage and enjoy a much larger spectrum of what you're missing out that you're currently using, most of you anyway, not all of you, It's just a great pleasure to use, and it's something that's impossible to put your finger on unless you give this lens to somebody and tell them, like, screw it, here's, go out and shoot this for a few hours with this lens. And it's like, well, it's smooth and silky, and it's built like a tank, and, it's obviously exquisite, like you say, but I don't understand why you're praising it so high. It's like, well, don't take my word for it. Just go out and shoot it for a few hours, and then you'll understand. And it's kind of an ineffable engagement. It's kind of like, well, I hate to be crude, it's kind of like, watching... well, that's kind of a crude analogy, I guess. It's kind of like watching nudity on the TV screen versus, actually having sex. So it's something that's indescribable. It's a true engagement that, that all autofocus, all program, all, just turn the camera on and hold down the shutter release does not give you. And so this is that sort of ineffable experience, and a really crude analogy that I'm trying to relate to you, because but those of you who get it, that have ordered the lens, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Like I said, VOIGTLANDER doesn't sponsor anybody, and the last person they're going to sponsor is me, so my high praise is no indication by any means that I have any connection with them. So that was the answer to the last few questions. Check the links below on the lens, and I was glad I was hopefully able to clarify some of the questions on this particular lens, and why, since, a 50mm pancake is only, $50–$60, what justifies spending $300 on this lens used, or what justifies spending $450 on this lens new between the two? And like I said, if you get a D3000 or 5000 series, your question is already answered for you. But most importantly, the silky smooth focus, the incredible precision. Also, the focal length is 100% perfect for DX use, for FX use, and for any current Nikon DSLR, since it does have CPU contacts. The camera knows how to both matrix meter and knows what's sitting on the front of it. You don't have to enter in any non-CPU lens settings, and it will also know how to matrix, to meter for flash photography as well, using this lens. So, last but not least, I'll state it again and get off this video and stop flapping my lips, that I find it absolutely impossible, unless you've got a screw loose, that if you buy this lens, you got to buy it from B&H or eBay or something like that, you get a return policy of some sort, except for eBay in certain circumstances. But I really find it impossible that you'd use this lens for a day and not say, this is a keeper. I mean, for my cold dead fingers, will they take this lens? It's not leaving my hands ever. So it really will be one of those lenses for you. So if that helps you justify or rationalize, why this lens is worth the $300 price tag used, or $450 new, that should be it. So anyway, thank you so much, and sorry for being long-winded. Obviously one of my personal faults. So sorry. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Lux Eva.